Welcome to where we disrupt project management by providing you real world life experiences in leading projects. Ready to lead a project like a pro? Because when plans go sideways, we don't just adapt, we definitely thrive. If you're new to the channel, I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, that just simply means Ed. I have an 8 point framework, and these 8 points, my goal, my mission, my job here is to unpack today's title, which is entitled The Distinctive Characteristics of a Successful Project Manager. You know, there's a quote by James Clear, and I mentioned it before, but I'm going to bring it here because it makes so much sense. James Clear said something. He's the author that wrote the book Atomic Habits. He also has an app out as well. So check out both of those products. But again, he said, highly focused people do not leave their options open. They select their priorities and are comfortable ignoring the rest. If you commit to nothing, you will be distracted by everything. And I had to do the everything instead of. But anyway, let's get to the first point. Point number one, conflict resolution skills. Now, family, one of the things I did a video yesterday, I'm actually going to pin that video in today's episode. The reason why I'm going to pin that episode in the comments is because of the fact of the value that I truly believe it really offers. Meaning that when you get in this thing that I love, that I hope you fall in love with, called project management, what will tend to happen is you're going to run into a lot of conflicts. They may be very small, they may be large. I mean, it doesn't matter. Conflict is conflict. And being able to have the ability to navigate around these conflicts is going to be important. So, that's why point number one, since I said let's piggyback off yesterday, of conflict resolution skills. What you want to be able to do is to effectively communicate when you're trying to resolve a conflict. A really good actionable step here that I would recommend is develop a structured approach to a conflict resolution that emphasizes on open communication. Why that's important is because everybody wants to get their point across. Everybody wants to tell you what's wrong. And as I shared before, we can sometimes get caught up in so much of the problem and talking about the problem and why this happened and what we why we didn't do any. We can get caught up in all of that instead of taking that same energy, that same enthusiasm, that same approach and putting it on finding an actual solution and being able to do that where you let the stakeholders know you are in a safe environment to us constructing this particular finding a resolution to this problem. Anyways, family, I want to know again, I'm asking constantly, what is your single biggest challenge you are having in project management? Again, what is your biggest challenge you're having in project management? Leave that in the comments. I'm just curious to see what kind of challenges you guys are up against. Point number two, this is my favorite message. Break down silos and encourage collaborations. Listen, family, one of the hardest things besides every other thing that comes with it is when you walk into a new project, especially I'm gonna give you two scenarios. If you are a new project manager taking over, and when I say new, meaning new walking into a project that has already started or they already had a project manager on there, and now you have to get in there and lead the project, or if you are a project coordinator and you're transitioning into becoming a project manager, or you're just uh, more or less basically just leading it. You could lead a project as a project coordinator. But here's the caveat, family. Here's the thing that I found the most that it was so funny, and I'm laughing because I'm thinking about all these stories and issues that I had. But you have to get in there and figure out how you can break up any particular silos. If there's silos going on, if there's additional meetings going on outside of the actual project that is more silo driven versus like the team going to go work on a particular resolution or going to actually go do their work, those type of things, you want that to happen. But you want to ensure, see, a silo to me is that a group of people, more than one person gets together with someone else and says, hey, and start talking about the project and creating all of these ways, but they're doing it in a way that gets in the way of blocking the project's success, meaning that they're not really showing up on the weekly meetings, they're not really participating. And when this starts happening, you start seeing a trend and it starts affecting the whole team because conflict starts coming from that because you have people, again, another video I did about know-it-alls, that you have people that feel like they know it all. They don't need to be part of the project, but you do. This is a collaborative approach. So I encourage open communication and teamwork across departments, and in ensuring that we're breaking down those silos by fostering a cross-functional collaboration. This will, I mean, the more, just think about it, family. And I don't even know why this, I always see this happen. And this is, it's sort of like where, how can I explain it? It's sort of like where you'll see a group of people, and then you'll see a group of people, then you'll watch people break off into their own little silo and section. But it's like that's not valuable to the entire group because we can't listen into maybe the brainstorming session that we with a I love doing my new pair of lenses that could give you some consultation, not telling you how to do it, but maybe looking at it from a different perspective because we're not the subject matter expert there. So I'm saying all that to say, family, I know I drained this point pretty pretty well, but I'm just trying to ensure that you have to push for collaboration. The more collaboration you have on your project, the more successful you're going to be as a project manager or even a project coordinator. Point number 3, you're going to want to develop a resilient mindset. There's going to be setbacks that's going to allow you to be set up for success. Of course, we're going to take a positive spin on it. But you're also going to have to really figure out ways to overcome them. You're going to have issues with stakeholders, the stakeholders' resistance. They're going to ask you, hey, we want to be proactive. We want to ensure that we are ahead. And what can we do? What are some proactive activities that we can do to ensure that we're not running and trying to keep up, that we're missing out on our vacations or holidays? And you can give all of that information to them, and you can, and they won't do anything with it. And you have to be resilient enough to walk in with a smile. Like, I got you. I understand. We'll figure it out from here. And that just builds resistance. I know it's frustrating, family. You're like, what are you talking about, ED? They ask you to help them be more proactive. You give them the information that they need in order to be proactive. They know what to do to be proactive, but still they go into a reactive state of mind and they wait to the last minute to do it. And now the project is more at a speed of light instead of us taking our time through each particular part of the life cycle, project management life cycle. So again, it's just one of those things, family. I wish we always wish it could be different and better, but that's how sometimes we are. I mean, you've procrastinated on things that you're supposed to do yesterday. So I say all that to say, just developing a resilient mindset and figuring out ways how to get around it. Point number 4, safe project culture for change. I've seen this. Oh man, some of my feedback, and I got to be careful here because I don't want to come across as I'm attacking people, but it frustrates me where you get into a group meeting about driving change on, maybe it may be an artifact or governance or um, resources, whatever that thing is, and you have a group of people giving, I mean, valuable feedback that you can actually make a change, and then you do nothing with it. So now you've wasted my time, the time of others, where if you were going to do that anyway, you should have just done what you were going to do and not even invite us to the, okay, I'm sorry, I'm having flashbacks, family. No, I'm just playing. But seriously though, family, we have to, especially if you're leading a project, you want to be able to create an environment where team members feel safe at proposing changes and improvement. Hey, even if we don't do it on this project, we need to document it and keep it in place so it could be useful for maybe another project manager or our next project. So don't discount or discredit when someone is saying, hey, I think we might need to make a change here. Go through the process to figure out if we need to make the change. Don't right off the back just discount it and discredit, because you don't know that that change may save the organization millions. It may save some people's jobs. So please, family, before you make a quick decision, or I should say, before you make a quick choice, first hear the information so you can make an informed decision. Oh, I like that. Point number 5, enhance your problem solving skills. What does that mean? Basically, you want to be able to have the ability to be adaptable in solving unexpected problems efficiently. I always mention this to you. There's going to be problems and that arise throughout the project, and you want to be able to attack those problems and have. You're not going to know what the resolution is at the time, but being able to work with the team to brainstorm how do we address this, and documenting all of those particular resolutions of how we can attack this problem, and then we vote and figure out, okay, which one are we going to do first? All right, let's do this one and see if it works. This one, let's move on to the next one, and so on. So one actionable step I would recommend is, engage in brainstorming sessions with your team to tackle hypothetical project challenges. Here's a hypothetical project challenge. You just lost a resource, and they're a great resource. What do you do to combat that? So that is a good way that would be a great exercise. Like, how do we ensure that the project doesn't, go off track? If we lose this resource, how can we ensure that maybe we may not have the same value, but is there anybody that could step in? And it's just basically understanding your resources. Okay, let's move on to point number 6. Improve your skill gaps. So as a project manager, you're going to have a lot of blind sides, or I should say, yeah, blind spots, excuse me. And I consider those blind spots of skill gaps that you have to continue to work on. One of the things I'm always continue to work on is communication. Why am I always working on communication? Is because as a project manager, you have to be able to communicate up and down. Up meaning, hey, I need to be able to articulate to executive at a very high level and be prepared if more details are required. When you're talking to anyone below executive, they may want to get more in the weeds. They may want to get more of the detail. How can you articulate that where if you got a 30-minute meeting, that you don't miss the main points? So being able to grab the main points and expand from there. So that is a really good example of being able to identify, skill gaps. And when I say skill gaps, I don't mean that you don't have the skill. I'm saying that there's a skill that you really want to work on. The ability to communicate is definitely going to take you further in this thing that I love, again, that I hope you fall in love with, called project management. Because project management is project management. I don't care what, you could put me in any field. You could put me in construction. As long as I got some subject matter experts around me, I can lead that project successfully. And I'm not trying to boast. I'm not trying to brag and say I'm better than anyone. I'm saying the framework that the PMBOK has given me, from its initiating to close. And here are the artifacts that are associated with it. The challenge with this is, family, is what makes a project is people. So if you do not have stakeholders that are there to really support you, if you don't have stakeholders there that are, like we talked about, are trying to do more of a silo versus a collaborative approach, I don't care how great of a project manager is. I don't care how many years of experience. That project is going to fail. I mean, it's no other way, because projects are more people driven than anything. All right, let's move on to point number 7. Point number 7, practice decision making under uncertainty. Uncertainty, excuse me. That's why I always say, family, we talked about it in point number 5. I think that we talked about it in point number 5. Yeah, it was point number 5, I recall, about the ability to practice. I mean, more or less about decision. You have to make a lot of decisions, not a lot of choices on projects, a lot of decisions, because those decisions may or may not affect someone on your team, the organization, if you're not doing it properly. So, being able to make informed decisions when all the facts are not there is going to be a key asset to your growth as a project manager. All right, let's move on to point number 8. This is very important. We're in a global economy now, family, and we've been here for a while. So, point number 8 is called Know Your Audience, Cultural Sensitivity. We have to understand that there's various cultures that are going to be on our project. So, it's very important in diverse cultural backgrounds. It's very important to educate ourselves on our different teams, on our different teams, stakeholders, culture, because there may be communication differences as far as what we may perceive as one thing, it may be perceived as a bad word somewhere else, and it's not like that. I'm giving you an example why it's important to understand the team that you're working with. That's why I always recommend, if you're leading a team, to be able to set up one-on-ones or with potential stakeholders, because you want to ensure that you're building that bond. And again, you want to talk with them personally, because they'll give you some insight, like, hey, these type of things, culturally, this is why they are. So again, family, you have to know your audience. I don't even care if it's culturally. It could be a bunch of executives sitting in the room, and you got to know your audience. It could be a bunch of directors in the room. You got to know your audience. It could be a bunch of you get where I'm going. So you have to know your audience and your different communication style. Here's my bonus, since I brought up communication. As you know, I always talk about communication because I think it's very important. So I left this as a bonus because I always talk about it in the other video. So here's the bonus. I looked at 3 forms here, and I kind of made it different. So first form is a motivational communication, being able to use positive language with your team of when they start saying, "I don't think that's possible," and being able to go and you say, "I don't think it's possible yet." Okay, you don't like that one. Being able to encourage them, hey, if you wouldn't have delivered that, I don't know if we would have ever been able to get this project as far as we did. You really poured your all into this project. We truly appreciate it. And be genuine about it, family. If this stakeholder did do what they said they were going to do when they said they were going to do it, you got to congratulate them and thank them. The next piece under communication is crisis communication. Listen, family, they always say you want to put together a crisis communication plan before the crisis actually happens. It's so true. Being able to together a crisis communication management plan, or excuse me, crisis communication, is definitely going to be key. So the stakeholders know what to expect in case of crisis hit, so you don't have to go break the glass in case of an emergency. And then the last one is continuous improvement on communication skills, basically meaning having the ability to find ways to effectively communicate to different audiences. This is what I love to do, of engaging different audiences. That's why I'll go away, talk to an executive, all the way down to a subject matter expert, and seeing how that conversation is. It just keeps you stronger with your communication style. It makes you a better project manager, which we're all here for. Here's my closing remark. I have 3 of them. First one is breaking down silos and encourage collaboration. Like we said, the ability to break up these silos will allow your project to have a more open communication, and it allows for teamwork across departments. Point number 2, know your audience and cultural sensitivity. Like I stated before, family, it's important to educate yourself and the team about any cultural differences in communication norms. And the last and final point is safe project culture for change. This means is that a team is encouraged to be flexible, is more resilient to change, and can adapt more quickly to new direction. Family, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. This is one of those episodes where it's just adding more to your toolbox. So I hope that there's a point, or all 8 of the points plus the bonus, which is 9. I hope these really resonate with you, that you can use today. I'll give you to tonight to think it over, but I hope tomorrow morning that you start leveraging these points in your job. Until next time, this has been your boy ED, and I'm out.